Well, it's like anything. You want it yourself. You know, you want what they have. When you see somebody who has this happiness and inner peace, peacefulness and almost a freedom to say, I'm there and I want more of that. I want more.
As soon as it came to my mind where I started not trusting myself or not, like, what does this mean? I can't white knuckle anymore. I would press, I give it to you, Lord. I give it to you, Lord. I had nothing else. I give it to you. And that mantra helped me start to do this and like stop the white knuckling.
But there's always good and intermixed with the bad, isn't there? You know, but yeah, it was very painful. And to leave that hospital and leave my baby, you know, I had to trust that the adoption agency and the Lord would take care of everything, and she would go to a good family who could, you know, raise her and love her.
Christmas reminds us of God's greatest gifts: hope, peace, joy, love. However, God's gifts come wrapped not in ribbons and bows, but in the person of Jesus. Unfortunately, in the busyness of our holiday preparations, we may not fully appreciate the gift. Consider the gift of hope. Hope is a very precious commodity. Its absence can lead us to despair, filling the secret places of our souls with darkness. But when hope is present, despair is overcome. Weakness is exchanged for strength. Sadness is swallowed up in joy. My name is Bruce Boria, and I am the senior pastor of Bethany Church in Greenland, New Hampshire. This Christmas season, I would like to invite you to slow down for just a moment and see what I see. I believe my job offers a unique perspective. As a pastor, I get to hear the stories behind people's faces. As a pastor, I get to hear stories of God meeting people at significant crossroads in their lives. I want to share some of these inspiring stories with you and take you on a journey from places you'd never want to go to places you'll never want to leave. These are the stories behind Do You See What I See? I want to introduce you to a dear friend, Mitch Brook. Many in our congregation know Mitch as a talented musician who helped lead our worship teams. I've had the privilege of witnessing Mitch unwrap this gift of hope. Join me as he shares his story. You just may discover the gift of hope has your name on it. Mitch, you know, whenever I think about you, I think of music. I think I have all these images in my mind of you playing on a number of, different sets, and just seeing, you come alive when you have an instrument in your hand. And I was wondering, like, music touches us on so many deep levels. Where did you get your love for music? How did all this start for you?
Well, that was easy. My dad was associate first flutist with the New York Philharmonic. So I was raised with music from the time I was born. Had a lot of experiences with him, going down to Carnegie Hall, which is where the Philharmonic was based then, and especially hanging out in the Musicians' Lounge, which was basically the steam room underneath the New York Philharmonic. That's all they had
Wow.
for a stage. But my dad taught me to play flute starting at 4. And so that was fun, and I was always in a band, either in beginning school or in high school. I started learning to play the guitar at 7. I wanted to be like Elvis Presley. I wanted to be like him in the worst way. And then when I learned enough, I started watching him play and realized he couldn't play at all, hardly at all.
Right.
very disappointed.
Yeah. Now, from my understanding, it wasn't just your father that was a musician.
That's right. My mother was too. She was a mezzo-soprano, and they met at Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York. So I had both ends of classical music coming at me, the instrumental and the vocal. And again, they both taught in the house as well as other things, and so I was listening to music all the time.
At one point, you told me you went to Berkeley School of Music.
That's right, yes.
Yeah. When you left Berkeley, you went out with a soul band, right?
That's right, a 9-piece soul band. It was wonderful. We toured the entire Cape.
Big brass sound?
Yes, four horns, Hammond B3, electric guitar, bass, drums. It was quite a band.
It was like your average white band.
Yeah, except the average white band sounded average white.
Yeah.
We had a great black soul singer who was just made it real soul music.
More like Tower of Power then, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was wonderful. And it was a great experience, except for the fact that a lot of the guys in the band were from New York and were heavily into drugs, heavily into you name it. They were heavily into it. And, of course,
and so at the age of like what, about 20 years old, you're involved in this
19,
band?
20, yeah.
19, 20.
Yeah.
You know, someone once said to me that when you talk to people and they share their stories, they can sometimes take you to places that you never want to leave. Or they could take you to places that you wish you'd never go.
Mm-hmm.
And so it sounds like your music has taken you to some of those kinds of places. Well, unfold some of that for me.
Well, this was 1967, so drugs were everywhere. Kids ruled. It was quite a chaotic bunch of stuff going on. And I just followed around with the crowd. You know, whatever was happening, whatever was cool, whatever was going on, I wanted to be there. This is all brand new and exciting to me, because it wasn't just a matter of one or two people that were doing this, that everybody was. You almost felt like you were entitled to it.
Mm.
And it led me down some very deep, dark roads, with drug addiction, alcoholism, other things that I probably would rather not mention.
Yeah. Some of the places that music took you, it sounds like were pretty dark places. And there was a period in your life, you said, that you were filled with some despair. I wonder if maybe you could just share a little bit about that with us.
Well, one place was really when I was going through my second divorce. My wife had left me, and I left the house with her and took up residence in a friend of mine's trailer park. And I was all by myself. I was still tuning pianos, but just trying to get through day by day was very difficult for me. And I kept asking the question, why, God? Why is this happening? I just don't understand. I don't understand. And I was at one person's home tuning their piano, and they had left and just said, just lock up when you go. So I was there by myself tuning and crying, and then finally I just started banging my fist on the piano. Didn't hurt it. But banging my fist on the piano saying, God, tell me, why is this happening? I don't understand. And an amazing thing happened. I felt this tremendous amount of compassion, loving and compassion like I'd never felt before. The next thing that happened was as if I were drawn up in a satellite over the earth, and I could see everything that was happening on the earth. And if I looked one place, I could zoom right in and see what's happening close up, or pull back and see what's happening far away. And what I saw basically was everything that goes on in this world. I saw wars, I saw people dying, I saw people doing good things, I saw people stealing, killing, having affairs. Just the whole expanse of from good to bad, and pulled back again. And I just started to cry, and I felt that warmth again, that beautiful love that I had never felt before. And I knew God had just given me a glimpse into the human condition. And I was so grateful for that all the anger I had left me completely. I was no longer angry at my ex-wife. I was no longer angry at anybody, because I understood it's part of the human condition. And everybody's got it. And once I understood that, what her problems were and mine seemed kind of insignificant to the fact that the whole world was in this condition in one spot or another along their path.
It would be great to stay in this space, to find rest in the knowledge that a sovereign God has our best interests at heart, to look back at the mess we have made and realize that God is for us and not against us. But life doesn't always give us that option. Despite the troubled times Mitch experienced early in his life now would take a very drastic turn, a turn that would threaten this hope that he experienced with God. Listen in as I ask Mitch to share his recent struggles.
You have some challenges that you're facing now. Well, now we're talking about physical illness. And about 2.5 years ago, they found that I had cancer in my left lung. And it was actually by happenstance they found it, because they were taking an x-ray of another part of my lung and they caught it up. But they wanted me to have surgery right away. And so I did, and had to go through chemotherapy and all that stuff. And fortunately came out what looked like perfect on the other end. They were very thrilled with everything, felt they had gotten all of it. And here we are, maybe 6 months ago. And I hadn't had an x-ray taken in a long time. So they wanted to do that as part of my regular office visit once a year. And when they did, they saw cancer spots on not just one lung, but both lungs. And then they started doing some further testing to make sure it was what they thought it was. And yes, indeed, I had cancer again, and much worse than I'd had it the first time. As well, they kept going on with the testing and found out that I had a large lump in my liver. And then not too far down the road later, they took a brain scan and found that I had cancer in my brain as well. And they pronounced me incurable. But, of course, they always want to apply their applies, I should say. And so one specialist wanted me to go through chemo just for that particular type of cancer. The radiologist wanted me to go through all that kind of stuff. And I looked at everything altogether. I said, this is crazy. They said, tell me I have maybe 15 months to live. And if I go through all this, I might have 30 months to live. Well, I'm not going to put myself through all that for a possible extra 15 months. I want to have the highest quality of life that I can have with my wife while I'm here, and spend the rest of my time trying to set our affairs in order so at least she'll be okay when I'm gone.
After what appeared to be a successful surgery to remove cancer, Mitch now had to face a very grim prognosis. His cancer had returned with a vengeance. It was incurable. Hope under these circumstances would appear impossible. His cancer was a constant reminder of the limitations of placing his hope on medication or the skill of a surgeon. I think it would serve us well to remember that into such a broken world was Jesus born. A world where bodies get sick and hearts get broken, where minds are troubled. The prophetic announcement found in the book of Isaiah that is splashed across thousands of Christmas cards should remind us the virgin will be with child and will give birth to a son. And they will call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. Jesus is our Emmanuel. Jesus is God with us. Can you imagine God with us? For many, such a declaration is met with the question, what difference does that make? But consider, God with us. For Mitch, this declaration didn't raise questions. It raised hope.
When you think about this hope that God has brought, how has that impacted you now? Well, I'd like to back up just a little bit and say when I had that experience that I just explained to you a couple of minutes ago, it changed me in one very big way, and it increased my belief in God 1,000-fold. I asked him for something. He gave it to me. He loved me. He held me. I could feel all those things. And there was no question from then on in that he was my God and I was his son. And nothing would change that. And that no matter what circumstances I would be in, he'd find me a way to get through it. He'd stay with me. He'd help me. He never said he'd cure me, though I don't. I believe he can if that was what he wanted. But what he wanted is what counts, not what I want. I know he wants the best for me. It's the kind of revelation that God gives of himself as a way of giving us a hope that doesn't disappoint, right? Exactly. So hope comes in all kinds of shapes and sizes. Tell us some of the ways in which that hope has revealed itself to you as of late. Well, everything that's happened since then. First of all, it was a big shock, of course, for me and for Karen to find out about this. But we both are very, very strong believers. And because we know what God has done for us, we're not going to question what God has in mind for us. As Karen said, it's a win-win situation. Either I miraculously get healed and God gets the glory, or I get to go home. That's not too bad when you think about it. And so, since that's happened, I felt completely at peace. And probably in more peace than I've ever felt in my whole life. More calm than I've ever felt in my whole life. At peace with the world. Every day is like the best day of my life. And this didn't happen until after I found this out. How could you say these are the best days of your life when, by your own admission, those days may be numbered? Well, maybe that's why they are. They are numbered, or maybe numbered. And therefore, all we have is today. And because of that, you wake up every morning thinking, what am I going to do today? I mean, you could go either way with that. You know, you could say, woe is me today. Or you could say, I've got this whole day in front of me. What are we going to do? And it's just amazing. It makes me feel like I threw the rest of my life out, wasting time with all kinds of foolishness. And now I have a chance to do something different, something that can really help people. And that's why I'm up here with you. Hope is something that God never wants you to run out of. He's there for you. You have to believe that. You have to know that he comes first, not us, but he wants the best for us. And once you realize that, life is good. Life is very good.
Mitch believed God was present, that God had made himself known to him. Mitch made room for God to inform his perspective about life and the life to come. In his own words, he stated, "Hope is something that God never wants you to run out of. He's there for you. He's there for you." Could it be that this is what lies behind Emmanuel, God with us? Could it be that Jesus is the Word sent from heaven to bolster our hope when circumstances are trying? That Jesus is the revelation that pulls back the curtain so we can see the world to come? That Jesus is the affirmation that God will never leave us or forsake us? Mitch passed away on September 11, 2012. He was faithful and courageous till the day he took his last breath. Mitch went home for Christmas.
What advice would you have for people as you reflect on your life now and you think about this hope that you have found in your relationship with the Lord? What kind of advice would you have for them?
Well, it's pretty simple, really. You seek first the Lord, no matter what. Pray every day about it. Pray in your own way. Talk. I do that all the time when I'm in the car or whatever. But seek after Him and ask Him questions. And ask Him that you want to know His answer to this question you brought out. God is the ending of my life. He was not the beginning of my life. But from the time I turned my life over to Christ, bit by bit, piece by piece, I became a completely different person and a much better one. And it was because I stopped concentrating on me and what I thought I wanted. And I say wanted. See, there's a big difference. Instead of what God wanted from me. And I found great joy in that. I found great joy in being an inspiration to other people, either as a bass player or just by saying the right words to somebody that needs to hear something like that at the right time. Yeah. That brings me more joy than any of the stupid things I have done in my life to try and make myself happy. And I hope that if and when I do die, that I will be able to be a stand-up, how can I put this, witness to the love that Jesus has for us. And that's the hope, that you can hope. When you know that, your hope will always be alive. If you don't know that, you'll always wonder. And I don't wonder. I don't wonder at all. He's given me that.
This Christmas, my prayer is that you would cherish the gift of hope. In fact, why not plan on celebrating the birth of Jesus with us on Christmas Eve? But now I would like to close our time together with a video of Mitch performing Dwell in the House. It's a fitting way to honor Mitch, his love for music, and his love for Jesus. The words are from Psalm 23, known as the Shepherd's Psalm. The words are, "When I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me all my days and all my lonely nights. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever and ever."
Of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me all my days. Thank you. God bless. Thank you.